Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Xrizz'Tina. And don't forget to subscribe because I want you to come back, alright? As you can tell from the title of the video, we are going to be talking about a flawless base. You know what I'm saying? Just one of the various ways that I like to make sure that my foundation looks amazing. Tulip, say hi. Say hi. Tell everybody how you like to sleep on my lap while I film. I believe this is one of the requests that I had on Instagram, and so I'm here to deliver. So you want to start off obviously with clean skin that has been washed, toned, and moisturized. And yes, if you have oily skin, your skin needs to be moisturized too. After you hydrate your skin, obviously you want to go in with a primer, and as I'm sure you're all aware, there are so many options. For me personally, I like using primers that work on just about any skin type, meaning they're really meant to hydrate, smooth, and fill in pores. Those are the kind of primers that I like. So let me show y'all a few. The first one is the Peach and Lily primer. I know it's kind of hard to see because it's bright, but this is the Skin Shield Blurring Primer. This is for protecting your skin from the environment and smoothing your skin. And this has some really good ingredients in it, so your skin's obviously also going to be hydrated and luminous. This is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This is my mini version. I keep the big one in my kit. It smooths out your skin, it has hyaluronic acid in it, and it's sticky, so it's going to grip onto your foundation real good. Real good. And then, of course, we have the Beauty Blender Primer. This is the Opal Essence Serum Primer. So, as you can tell, I like primers that actually treat the skin instead of just stopping it from producing oil or putting too much hydration, blah, blah, blah. The one that I'm going to use today, though, the Peach and Lily one, and that's how it looks. Boop, boop. Because this is a treatment, meaning it's meant to actually help my skin, I put it all over my face. I put it all over my face. And I don't know if y'all can tell, but it has a nice subtle luminosity to it. When it comes to foundation, you really want to get a product that's going to address your needs. Getting a product that complements your skin type. Oily, dry, combination, sensitive, acne prone, those are skin types. And sometimes they're mixed together. I like foundations that have full coverage, or can be full coverage, flexible formula, and will not crease in my smile lines. Those are my big three. The one that we're going to be using today is the L'Oreal 24 Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. This foundation is fluid. It also has SPF in it, if you care about that. It also is a medium to full coverage that's buildable, and I personally find that it doesn't crease on me or my clients. So, and I'm going to put this on using a MAC 121 brush. Oh wait, I'm wrong. I'm going to use a 170 brush. I was real confident about that 121 business. And I always like to shake up my foundations because it just makes sense to me. And I'm just going to do one half of my face so you guys can see. So when it comes to getting the fullest coverage possible from your products, you want to make sure that you are dabbing it in. You see that? My skin is healing, so the hyperpigmentation is getting darker, but you want to dab it in, because if you go around sweeping your foundation in, it's going to make it a lot more sheer, so you can see stuff through it, whereas on this side, you can't see anything. So go ahead and dab your foundation in. Depending on which one you use, you'll have to figure out to see if the foundation works best with the brush or with the sponge. There are foundations that really truly do work best with the sponge, although a brush usually gives you the fullest coverage no matter what. So, and you just want to tap it in. Usually when I get down here, I'll sweep my foundation just because I don't really need full coverage around my jawline. Just tap, tap, tap in. And any additional foundation I have, I just like to bring it around my mouth because I have hyperpigmentation and discoloration there, and it's just gonna give me that extra little help. And see how this foundation is not matching up there? I'm gonna take one shade darker, which just happens to be a little bit more orange, and I'm doing less than half of a pump. All right, and I'm just gonna dot it around my forehead and blend it in. And that's just gonna give me a little bit of dimension so that I'm not looking like I have a mask on. I'm also gonna do the same thing over here and over here. Using foundations, liquid and cream products to create your bronzing, your contouring, especially if it's the same formula, will really create a natural looking finish, or not even a natural, a smooth finish, which is what we're aiming for. Because the products are the same formulation, the shades, if they're combined correctly, will transition into each other seamlessly. Just like that. And I'm actually gonna bring this up a little bit. Girl, yes. Ooh. See, and all we need now is a little bit of concealer. Of course, I'm gonna do more than concealer because I do the most, but you get the gist. Now, one thing I will say, if you want a flawless base, is to be mindful of the fact that if your foundation matches you super duper closely, like how these two match, you have to be mindful of whatever concealer and powder you choose to use, because if they're too light or too dark, it'll completely throw off your perfect match if you have one. This foundation is supposed to be 24-hour wear. It's also supposed to be like a satin skin matte, whatever. So I like to use this concealer. This is the LA Girl Pro Concealer. And one of the main reasons why I like to use it is because the shade, okay? The shade usually complements the foundations that I like to wear regardless of what the brand is. And it counteracts my Louis tones. Another reason why I like to use this is because it plays well with my powder. If you use a setting powder, I definitely recommend making sure that whatever concealer you use is gonna play well with it, because they're not all the same. Some people will tell you that it's all the same, and it ain't. It ain't all the same. I like to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder. This is my favorite setting powder. A lot of people, especially people with deeper complexions, some are not fans of this particular shade of the powder, but they just created a honey shade, I believe. It's either honey or it's golden, one of the two. Check that out if you want to try it. I like it though because it's not super dry, and because my concealer is so creamy, I can actually use translucent powders. That's something that isn't quite explained to people who are purchasing powders like these, is that if you're going to be setting underneath your eyes with a translucent powder, your concealer needs to be damp. It needs to be damp. It doesn't need to be soaking wet, fresh out the tube, you just slapped it on your eye. It needs to be damp, because otherwise the translucent powder is not going to have anything to adhere to. And if you think about it like a paper towel, if you get a really thin paper towel and you lay it over some red juice, the paper towel is going to soak up that red juice, and you'll be able to see that it was red juice that you laid it on top of. Same thing with your powder. If you wait until your concealer's dry, or you use a super drying concealer and you try to set it with a translucent powder, well, there's nothing moist for it to adhere to, so the translucent powder is going to give you a white cast. Now, some of them really aren't translucent and you'll get a white cast. If you absolutely have to use a concealer that is matte and you also feel the need to set it, because usually you're not supposed to have to set those kind of concealers, what I recommend is using a working spray. And that is something like Fix Plus. It's not a setting spray. Spraying your face and then setting underneath your eyes. That'll save you the trouble of having that white cast and trying to dust away excess powder. Now, what I'm about to show y'all is less is more, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is use my working spray because I wanna show y'all. Feels so good. I'm gonna let that get into my skin, honey, and what we'll do is we'll just gently press it in. Got my Laura Mercier. All right, and I'm actually going to start around my mouth because that's where I crease. Let's see how that's disappearing into my skin. And because I did my eyeshadow already, I don't have to go too far underneath my eye. And I also don't have to concern myself with creasing, my concealer creasing, because I did my eyeshadow. But if I keep layering it, it won't eventually, because like I said earlier, it doesn't have anything to soak into. Now, what do you do if you accidentally do wind up with too much powder on your face? Don't worry, I got you. What you want to do is take your sponge. The sponge will help pick up some of the powder, first of all, and press it in. I do know that quite a few people like to use brushes to do this. Personally, I don't like using dry brushes to fix this because I feel like they pick up the product. Then you want to take your foundation brush and just press around those areas. What'll happen is because your foundation brush technically is still damp from your foundation, it'll pick up the powder and it'll change the color of whatever is left on your face. All right, so moving on. Now, this summer I haven't really been using bronzer or contour, but because I know a lot of you do, I'm gonna go ahead and include this in the video. When it comes to your bronzer, you don't want to use something cool toned. Bronzer is not cool toned, contour is cool toned. Simple way of remembering it. Contour and bronzing is really based off of personal preference. I don't like contouring because I am skinny and my face is already pretty strong to look at, so I don't need to emphasize or cut through anything. It just makes your face look very sharp, especially if your face is already feminine. So what I like to do is take a bronzers that are warm, golden, orange hues, things like that, and I like to put it on top of my foundation. Usually if I do this where I layered another foundation in the area where I contour or bronze tour is what I like to call it, I don't go in with one of these, but just for demonstration purposes, we're gonna do it. So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills powdered bronzer in the shade Mahogany. You can use flat matte bronzers or you can use baked ones. Baked ones are very beautiful and easy to blend. So I'm just going to take very little of this and I'm tapping it in. I'm tapping instead of sweeping so I get that pigmentation, and also to prevent me from unnecessarily picking up all of that cream base that I laid down. And I only did one swipe because I don't want too much. These are actually pretty darn pigmented. A lot of bronzers as well are not very pigmented. They don't give very much color payoff. So if you do decide to invest in one that is a little bit more pigmented, that's why you want to be careful. The final thing you want to do is spray your face. I mean, that's pretty much it. If I was gonna wear blush, my blushes are all baked. They're either baked or they're cream. I don't really wear anything else. And I personally like to go in heavy with the setting spray because I wear quite a bit of makeup. So what I'm gonna do, you guys, is put on my lashes, my beauty mark, give it some hue, a little bit more color, and then I'll be right back. Ooh, ooh. Okay, you guys, so this is the final look. This is the flawless base. Okay, I think it turned out pretty good. Y'all, let me know down below in the comments, what would you recommend for a flawless base? What's your favorite product that you just know every single time is gonna make sure your makeup looks amazing? I'm gonna go take some pictures, but in the meantime, don't forget to share this video with your homies on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, you know, and then subscribe if you haven't already. Double check if you think you did, and then watch the next video. Watch the next video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.